Bienvenidos! Welcome to our next screencast. Today we're going to be taking a look at Español 1, Vocabulario y Gramática 1.3. What that basically means is it is the third paso or tercer paso of the first chapter. And we're just going to take a few minutes to go over some of the pronunciation and some of the definitions of our new vocabulary, our new grammar. We'll also take a look at these frases de ejemplo, which are example phrases, some sentences that you might use some of our new vocabulary in. When we're done with that, I'm going to show you just a few specific grammar points, and then you'll have all the tools you need in advance in order to be able to use some new grammar and vocabulary for this next week. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started talking. It says talking about likes and dislikes because that's something that's in the chapter, but you'll notice that a lot of things below here have nothing to do with saying liking or disliking. That kind of comes down here with words like me gusta, which is I like, or me gusta más, which is I like more, things like that. The word no by itself, well, we'll talk later on in class about how we put no in front of me gusta to say I don't like, and different small sub-skills like that. But I digress. Let's go ahead and get started right now. The first one, el baloncesto, is basketball. El baloncesto. El béisbol is baseball. Again, a cognate, meaning baseball, so baseball. La cafeteria is the cafeteria. El chocolate, chocolate, or el chocolate. La clase de inglés is English class. La comida is food. La comida mexicana would be Mexican food. La comida italiana would be Italian food. La comida china would be Chinese food. And this works for all different cultures. So like la comida americana would be American food. Or la comida canadiense for Canadian food, if there is such a thing. I suppose there is, like poutine and things like that. So interesting in that regard. You're probably noticing that we have the words el and la in front of a lot of these words. Those are the words for the. One of our main focuses moving forward this week is going to be definite articles. And definite articles are simply the words that come in front of nouns that mean the. Now in English, we only have one definite article. It's the word the. But in Spanish, you have to make it agree several different ways. It has to agree in gender, so masculine, feminine. It also has to agree in number, singular or plural. And I'll show you what that looks like in a few more minutes. Moving on. El is the. It's the masculine form of the. La ensalada is salad. El español is Spanish. La fruta, fruit. El fútbol is soccer, not football. It's a false cognate. In most of the world, el fútbol refers to what we call soccer, but it is in fact fútbol for the rest of the world. Fútbol norteamericano is American football or North American football, what we would just call football here in the U.S., or at least in most parts of the U.S. El jazz is jazz type of music. La is the other word for the, which is feminine. It's the feminine form of the word the. Más means more. Me gusta means I like. Me gusta más means I like more. Sometimes it can be generally translated to I like it the most. So if I want to say, for example, me gusta la música clásica, pero me gusta más la música rock. So like, I like classical music, but I like rock music even more. So those are some of the general translations between those two. Mucho just means a lot or much of something. Moving on. La música clásica, classical music. Música pop, pop music. Música rock, rock music. And you can use this for all different types of music. La música heavy, like for heavy metal music, or la música hip-hop, if you're referring to hip-hop music. So there's lots of anglicized versions to describe music internationally. La música de would be like, if you're trying, it's a sentence fragment or a phrase that expresses the artist that you're referring to. So if I want to say that For instance, I like the Foo Fighters. I would say, me gusta la música de los Foo Fighters. Or if I want to say, for example, I like, Shakira, I would say, me gusta la música de Shakira, and so on. La natación is swimming. No means no. So, no actually does, in this case, mean no in Spanish. No me gusta, I don't like. Pero means but or however, as in the phrase, I like pizza, but I don't like pepperoni. Me gusta la pizza, pero no me gusta el pepperoni. Okay. ¿Qué te gusta? Asks the question, what do you like? Sí, of course, means yes. La tarea is homework. Te gusta, as part of a question, asks the question, do you like? And notice there's 3 little dots afterwards. That's just to show us that you would add something or a suggestive thing that you might like afterwards. Like, te gusta la pizza? Do you like pizza? Te gusta el baloncesto? Do you like basketball? And so on. El tenis is tennis. And el voleibol is volleyball. Muy bien. So a lot of cognates when it comes to sports, related words in both languages. Let's take a look at some of the frases de ejemplo, some sentences that you might be able to understand or speak using some of your new vocabulary. Frase número 1, ¿qué te gusta? Asks the question, what do you like? ¿Te gusta el fútbol? Do you like soccer? Sí, me gusta mucho el fútbol. Yes, I like soccer a lot. Sí, pero me gusta más el baloncesto. Yeah, but I like basketball more. So if someone said, ¿te gusta el fútbol? You could say, sí, pero me gusta más el baloncesto. Yeah, I like soccer, but I like basketball more. As an example of putting some phrases together. ¿Te gusta la fruta? Do you like fruit? No, no me gusta para nada. No, I don't like it at all. Me gusta el español. I like Spanish. A very common phrase, especially if you want to earn extra points with me. Something to consider moving forward. Okay, so that's just an idea of a recap of some of the vocabulary that we're going to be discussing this week, as well as a few frases de ejemplo, some example phrases. Let me very quickly just show you what our grammar is going to look like for this week. So here it is, Español, Gramática 1.3. Again, talking about likes and dislikes. Let's see if I can get this into a full screen for you. There it is. And let's go ahead and flip. We really only have 2 slides that we're going to be focusing on. So, and when we get to the bottom one, when we get right in this section that would be around my face, I'll move myself this way so that you can read those when we get to that point. Here we go. Nouns and definite articles. So many of the vocab words in this chapter are nouns. Those are words to name people, places, things, and sometimes ideas. Hopefully this is review from English class, but just making sure. As you can see, all nouns listed have an L or a la in front of them. Generally, L is used in front of masculine nouns, and la is used before feminine nouns. Moving myself up a little bit. When learning new nouns, always learn the definite article that goes with the noun at the same time. That'll be really helpful. To be 100% honest, I didn't when I learned Spanish, but I wish that I had. Instead, I was really scrambling to learn all of the rules and exceptions to the rules about masculine versus feminine, how to tell the difference between the two. And I'm actually going to teach you that too, because I want you to have all the tools necessary. And let me show you what that looks like right now. That's a very slow transition. Okay, gender in nouns. So the question that I get most of all when I'm teaching a lesson or when we're working through a lesson or practicing something in class is, how do I tell the difference between a masculine and a feminine noun? The answer is to look at the end of the noun. And generally the masculine nouns will end in an O and feminine nouns will end in an A. That's the case probably 90% of the time. If you want to be correct about like 99% of the time, because naturally there are exceptions in language all the time, here are some other endings that might help you tell the difference. Okay, let me pull this down just a little bit here. There we go. I just wanted you to be able to see the Z on the bottom of there. Basically, masculine nouns, yes, they end in O, but if they end in L, O, N, E, R, or Z, 99.9% of the time they're going to be masculine. Yes, there are exceptions to it. Like the word radio ends in an O, but it's la radio. It's technically a feminine noun. Weird. Anyways, that's something to help you remember. The word loners. If you can remember the word loners with a Z, then that might help you remember masculine nouns a little bit better. Feminine nouns will 99.9% of the time either end in the letters A, ion, with an accent over the O, or idad. A, ion, or idad. So there you have it. Those are your helpful rules. Yes, there are a few exceptions to them, but mostly helpful rules for remembering gender in nouns. Masculine nouns tend to end in loners, L-O-N-E-R-Z. Feminine nouns will tend to end in a, ion, or idad. So hopefully that helps you understand a little bit more about gender. We'll talk a little bit more in class, of course, about the difference between masculine and feminine and when to use definite articles, L versus la, and we'll be practicing that in class as well. Make sure to study all of your vocabulary in advance. Make sure to take a little bit of time each evening. I hope you're having a great beginning to the year. For everyone else in the family that's not a part of my class but's watching this video, hola. Glad you could stop by. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Ciao.